Hi everyone, welcome back to Rach and Bella Crafts. Rachel here. I hope you are all well. So for today's video, I'm going to be bringing you yet another super easy pocket that you can create with one sheet of paper. This one sheet of paper is going to give you 4 pockets to go on one page in your journal. I'm going to give you a quick, I'm going to quickly show you a very simple kind of idea for it. There are going to be some variations on it, which you can choose later, but the basics of it is you will have a pocket here, you will have a pocket here, you will have a pocket here, and you will then have a pocket here, okay? And then that will sit as so then on your journal page. So without further ado, let's get on and show you how to do it. All right, so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your sheet of paper, decide which pattern you want on the outside first and foremostly, because obviously once it's in, and also if you've got anything that is directional, make sure it's going the right way. So because this paper isn't going the right way, I'm going to put that on the inside, and I'm going to use this as the outside of my page. So let's just fold this in half. And then once we've done that, we're then going to fold it in half the other way. Oops, just got my bone folder. Sorry, there we go. Right, now, so we've folded that in half and we've folded that in half there. There we go. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to bring this flap down at the way a second. So we're going to work with the pocket now. So you've got your open side here, okay? And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to bring down this to create the flap of the first pocket. So we don't want it to be too deep. So you're going to want to make that there about, where's my little ruler? About 2 centimeters, okay? So first flap, need it to be about 2 centimeters deep there. Okay, and then we're going to fold this one up, and then we're going to bring this one down then so that it falls down further down, if that makes sense. So, but yet it needs to tuck just underneath this flap here. So I would say we want this one to be, I'm going to say about 3 centimeters. Now obviously my measurements are irrelevant to you if your sheet of paper is not the same size as my sheet of paper. But I'm just trying to give you an example, obviously, of the difference in depth, because you need to be able to see the back flap in front of the front flap. Rachel, I'm not making any sense here at all. I'll show you now. Fold that one down there. Make sure that one's bigger than that one, because when they're both folded, they need to fold like a waterfall, one over the top of the other. And yet when they open, you need to be able to access the pocket behind here. Right, does that make that more sense? You really think, oh, I need to explain this really simply now today. Yeah, fail. Right, there we are. So just make sure they're nice and flat. And you've got 2 flaps there that you can see what's going on. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do now is open this back up, and we're just going to then take the edge, the open edges, and we're going to just fold those over just 1 centimeter. Okay, so it might best starting in the middle and then working your way one side and then the other, and that will then be our flaps. So again, as I did in my video the other day, I'm just going to very quickly now mark out on my paper what I'm going to do with each of these pieces, just so that I don't get confused, because it can get a bit confusing, because obviously we've got 2 flaps, we've got bits to cut off, bits to glue down, and it can just get a little bit confusing. So this is the inside. Use a pencil, whatever. I'm going to put G here to tell me that that's got to be glued. And then I'm going to put, I need to make sure then that I've got my flaps the right way around. So that one there, that's also going to be glued. And then I am going to then, I got my smaller side this side, and I got my larger side this side. So the one was the front, if you remember, the one was the back. So this one here needs to be glued, and this one here needs to be glued. All right, glue, 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 glue. But first we're going to cut. Okay, so that's the important bit. So let's start by cutting the flaps on this end here. So we're going to, let me just put that down in a minute so I can see what I'm doing. Because obviously we know these are going to be the pocket flaps, so these need to be loose whatever happens. So let's just trim that down there like that. And then we're going to take this off at an angle here. And then again, let's just trim that down there like so. And then we're going to trim that off at an angle here. Now the next thing you're going to do then is to cut, and I'm going to do a little divot to do this, in the centre of these two, because obviously they need to fold in half and I don't want there to be too much bulk. So that now should be able to fold over, because we're going to be gluing the one on top of the other. All right, so that's that one. And if we come around this side, we're going to do the same thing again now. So I just fold this back that way a minute, just so I can see where I'm meant to be cutting. Always harder when you're working with pattern paper, isn't it? I struggle to see on time is what I'm meant to be doing. Right, and then we're going to just take a divot out there. There we go. And then the same this side. And then I'm going to take a divot out there. And then where the centre fold is, we're just going to take a little tiny little divot out, just so that these flaps can fold without any excess bulk in the centre. So again, now that'll be ready to be folded over and to be glued with the other side. Now we're not gluing anything at the moment. That's why I'm marking it all, so I don't forget then afterwards what's got to be glued where. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do now is we're going to cut down between these two flaps here. All right, so if you remember, we folded this earlier on because this is going to form the one flap, but I need to separate them now so that we can make a flap. One is the closure side and the other one is going to go on the inside. So simply going to just cut. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make two very small cuts here, one side and one on the other, just either side of the center fold, just because when you're making the flaps or the envelopes, you need to be able to just have that little bit of, you know, flexibility, movement, whereas if there's literally no space between the two sides, it just makes it a little bit difficult to close then. So that then is going to become our flap. All right, just make sure that that's angled that way. That's it. And then again at this side, so again just make sure you reinforce where that center line is, and then I'm going to just simply take it down a little bit that way to the middle, and then the same this side. And like I say, we're just taking out, oh, it's not even a millimeter's worth of paper out of the way, but it just then helps when you've got to fold that in, and then when we want to be able to use the flap. Okay, so that's all of your folds and all your cuts done. So at this point now, that's all we need to do with this at the moment. So the next thing we're going to do now is make sure you leave your flap bits up, push in all of the bits that are going to be glued. So it'll go like that actually. So just make sure that's not over hanging, because that'll be glued down first, and then that'll go over the top. Just make sure that's not overhanging. Oop. There we go. Right, there we are. And then that'll go over the top. So flaps out, them in, there. So now you should have a shape that looks like this. Okay, so everything now should be inside that's meant to be inside, and everything that's meant to stay out should be out. All right, so now turn it around this way, small flap here, large flap here, and then you're going to fold it back up. And now we're going to do all of the, all the little bits that complete our pocket. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to decide what shape you want the edges of your flaps. So you can either round them off with a corner cutter, which is quite a nice look. And I think that's probably what I'm going to do here now. So I'm just going to pop that into my corner maker thing. Just make sure that goes right in. Oops, use a bigger one. There we go. And then the same here. And then this one here. Put that in there because that's a bigger one. I do like a rounded edge on the pockets. I think it looks a bit more like a flap then, doesn't it? There we go, that's better. Now obviously the next thing that we're going to do is to ink it. So I'm going to just do that quickly now. Okay, so that's everything inked. So I've done all of the insides of the edges there, because obviously I can still get to them at the moment. I've done the inside there, and then I've been around all of the edges here, and obviously the tops of both envelopes. Okay, so there's one more thing we need to, actually there's two more things now that you need to think about before we look to glue this together. So what you need to now think about is whether or not you want to put a divot into your pockets. Now what do I mean by a divot? Well, basically it's where we take our little circle cutter, and you may want to put just a little thumb hole in there so that you can access the pockets easier. So I'm going to do that now, and then it'll just help me then by having that done ready for them to be there basically. So I'm just going to pop one there. There we go. And then I'm just going to pop one here. There we go. And then we just ink those in there. That's one. And then I'm going to ink that in there. And that's two. There we go. 1, 2. Right. Now, the very last thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a closure. Now, it is easier to do it at this point, if you're thinking I'm being a bit crazy here, because afterwards you won't be able to get into the inside this pocket very easily to do this. So, like I say, if you do all these little things beforehand, it just makes things a whole lot easier then in the long run. So I'm just looking beside me now for a little bit of scrap of this kit, if I can find any. Oh, that there will do quite nicely actually. Right, there we go. So the easiest way to do this actually is to just fold over a sheet of paper and then take your circle cutter. There we go. And then you've got, and if you can manage to do it right on the end, you might even be fortunate enough that you can catch it on the fold. I don't know if I have there. No, I didn't. Okay, it doesn't matter. Anyway, glue one to the other. Line them up so we can only see one. That just reinforces then your little circle. Obviously, if you're using card, you won't need to do this. But I'm just using paper, so I just wanted to finish that off. Right, a bit of ink, because we need this to stand out so we can see it. And then you have two ways of doing this. Now, you can either use your awl thing that you use to bind bind your journals with, to make the holes, or you can do it with your punch. Now, if you have one of these, this isn't going to be long enough because you won't get the reach. But as my sons very, very kindly treated me to a large crocodile for my birthday, I am actually going to use that now to do this. So the only thing I will say here now is that it's important really to get this in the centre. So as often as I don't measure, I am going to for this. So 13, I make that 6.5 to be the centre of that. And I'm going to do 2 holes. We're going to do one in the top of this pocket here. Probably best doing this in pencil. Oops. So we're going to make a hole here because we're going to be putting a yeah, brad, that's what it's called, isn't it? A brad in there. Oh, so that's going to go by there. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to make a hole. I'm going to say about there. There's 13 there, so 6.5. That's there. Yeah, that's fine. And then that'll go there. And then and a hole in the middle of that. Don't need to measure that, do we? Right. Okie dokie. So I need a paper fastener. I think I'm going to use the brass one here. Actually, a miracle I managed to find these earlier on, because I'm in a bit of disarray here at the minute, and nothing new there, I know. But I was like, I knew I had them a week ago, and I thought, oh, what have I done with them? But no, I did actually manage to locate them. So we're going to need one of those, and then we're going to need, she says, sweeping everything casually off the desk. Let me just see if I got the colour that I could do with. I know I might know a brass, I think. Oh, no, we're all right. I've got one there. Hey, hey. There we go. Let's pop those back in there. Right. Let's give this monster a try. So I worked out earlier on how to work out what hole you want, what punch, basically, you want to come down. So I'm just going to take my time. Make sure I've got my little dot right in the middle. And then that's that one done. And then I now need to take my sheet of paper, and if you can see, there's a dot that I created earlier on. So we're going to open this back up. Hence why it's much easier to do this if you haven't glued your pocket together. And I'm just going to make a hole there. There we go. And the last thing I need to make a hole with is, but I actually think I may use the awl to do this, because I don't want the, what am I looking for? What am I trying to say? I don't want the paper fastener falling through it. So I'm going to just use my awl in the centre. I'm going to make a hole to put the paper fastener into. Now, if you don't have a crocodile, you can do that to make the holes in here as well, but I've had it for my birthday, and I thought I'm going to use it and give it a go. So let's pop this into here now. Bear with me, because I'm not great with these. Now, what you can also do as well, if you really want to, is to pop an extra circle on the inside, and that can sometimes then reinforce the hole on the inside. So if I can just find, oh, that's what I was using, of course. Just take a cut out of this a second. Again, it doesn't matter what paper you use to do this, because it's not going to be seen. I probably should have done this actually before I did that. So I'm just going to pop that back through there to make a hole in the centre. There we go. And then I'm just going to fix that into place on the inside, and that'll just reinforce my pocket. There we go. And I'm going to just pop that over there, in through there, and then I'll split the pin. Now, what you can now do, if you want, so that it doesn't catch on whatever you're popping into your pocket, you can also then add another circle. I never have too many circles, you see, because they're just reinforcing all the time, reinforcing. And you can then pop that over the top of your paper fastener, so that on the inside it's completely smooth, because there's nothing worse than trying to put something into a pocket, is there, and something on the inside being in the way. So I'm just going to pop another one of those over the top, and then that should sit flush. Then it might be easier to rub it from the other side, actually. Oh, that was my divot. Now, what did I drop down here then? There we go. And on the inside now, that's nice and smooth. Here we are. Oh, Okay, so the next bit that we're going to do now is to put our, I'm not getting myself confused here now. Right, there we go. So you can see now we've got our little circle there ready as a closure. So now we just need to put this in there. So I'll just pop that in there. Oh, it's the wrong side. Oops. Just like a bigger hole. In there, and then there we go. So I would say now we are now ready to glue our pocket, because I think everything else that needs to be done, what's the word I'm looking for? Constructively has been done. So let's just make sure now that all my cuts are in place, everything's right. Yep, that all looks good to me. I've done the tops of my flaps, I've done the thing on the front, I've done that there. Okay, so let's look at gluing this together, shall we? Now you can see where that's folded, that's started to curl there, so I'm going to just trim that off because it is in the way and it's kind of irrelevant. So the last thing we need is excess bits of paper getting in the way. That one is all right. What about this side? That one is fine. I'm just going to take a bit off the edge there because I don't want that hanging out, because that would be a travesty. Okay, so just make sure you've got the right bits in now. We'll leave that one out. The ones with the divot in are the ones that we've got to glue, and that they go down first, not the inner bits. So let's just get those into place as such, and that should nicely reinforce your pocket then. There we go. That's very nice. And then turn it around and we do the same this side. There's merit, you see, sometimes in not gluing things straight away. I'm terrible for it. I plow on ahead and then I think, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. So sometimes it's better to just be a little bit slower and think, right, have I done everything now that needs to be done before I put this together? So now all of the construction is done, and it just makes life a lot easier then when you know, it comes to finishing what you're creating, if you have done that properly. Okay, so let's now do these sides, and let's fold that one in there, because that is now going to go over there like that, and we're now going to glue those together. Yep. So I think for this I'm going to use a little tiny smidgen of this, hopefully just a little tiny smidgen, because I don't want this bleeding out into my pocket. So just watch that there. Okay, so let's bring this across, pop that down there, and just very gently smooth that into place. And that should then lead to minimal chance of that bleeding through. Right, now obviously this pocket needs to fold up here, and we want it to go on the page so that you've got pocket, 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 pocket. But you don't have to do it that way. So I'm just going to give you an alternative idea a second before I go any further. Now what you can do, you can fit it on the page, but you cannot glue this bit here. So you could leave it so that this opens out, because that then becomes a complete game changer. Because then what you can do is you can add a pocket in here and a pocket in here, but they're hidden pockets. So it's entirely up to you. You can either just pop it on the page like that, have a pocket at the back, a pocket there, and a pocket there, or we can add some pockets in here. Now, as I've got the opportunity, I'm going to just really quickly add some extra pockets in there because I think that would be quite cool. Quite cool indeed. I wonder now if, oh, in fact, do you know what? I reckon we could put a belly band on this one. Yes, let's do that, shall we? Should we put a belly band on that one and then a pocket on that one? Oh, amazing. I love it. I love it. It's a good job I don't write the titles for these videos down before I actually film them, isn't it? Because I start with one idea and I end up going off on something else. And I think we'll use this then as the other pocket on there because I've just got one to hand. If you don't have one of these to hand, grab yourself just a square of paper, excuse me, in whatever material, pattern, whatever you're working with. You could make a fabric pocket to go inside here. That would be a really nice addition. You could also do a lace pocket inside. But yeah, so let's just, and I'm going to show you then how we're going to keep it all closed in a second. But let's very, very quickly just cut this out. I do apologise I didn't have it cut ready. And then we will just ink and stick it into place. And then we can pop it into our journal, onto the page, and we'll be able to see how that looks and how much stuff we can actually store inside. So bear with, last cut. Sorry, it's like watching paint dry, I know. Just talk amongst yourselves a second. There we go. Right. Bit of ink on there. Again, tedious to watch and listen to, I know, I'm sorry. But if we're not careful, we're going to get to a point where we edit out so much stuff that people who are new to junk journaling don't even understand how the ink got on there. So sometimes just bear with, because otherwise it's like a missing piece of the puzzle for them. So I'm going to just pop that on there like so. And I'm going to have a little pocket under there then. What do you reckon? Good idea, yeah? Okay, so we want a little tiny smidge of glue. So it would have been handy to have had my end for this, but okay, we're not doing too badly. And then we're just going to place that, where's the fold? Place that down there like that. Just make sure whatever you put on doesn't interfere with the folding of the pocket. Okay, there we go. That looks good. And then I'm just going to cut this bit of paper here. Which end do I prefer? I actually like that bit there. But that's all right. Just cut that there. Put a mark there so I can see where I got to cut it. Make a mark. Doesn't matter how big your marks are on this paper. The design is so intricate. I usually have a job to see it. Right. Is that the right size on there now? Yeah, just a smidge off. How did I manage to do that? Still wonky. Okay, that's fine. And we're just going to ink that so we can see it. Because whilst we want things to blend in, we also need them to be usable. Now, obviously, if I was, you know, normally I would probably stitch around this, just again to give a little bit more definition. But in this case, you may not want to do that because you don't want to add too much bulk. Because you've got to remember this pocket does need to fold up. So I'm going to just glue that now onto here, either end, like a belly band. Should we have it that way up actually? Yeah, because that's pretty, isn't it? That paper. That side, and then that side. Just make sure it's straight. There we go. Now the last bit of our puzzle, as we say, or our last thing to do is I'm going to take a little bit of my lovely eyelash that I got for 50p from the discount shop, and I'm going to just, I think that's a better colour there, yes. I'm going to take just a bit of this off. There we go. And we're going to just thread some through here, like so. I'm just gonna knot that around there a minute. Oh, I struggle doing knots with this eyelash. Do you? I can't see it. Okay. There we are. There we go. Very nice. And then one more look. Because we do not want that coming undone. Go through the hole. Okay. So then when we put our pocket up to close and bring it down, we can then wind that around our closure like so. It's probably a bit long actually. And then we have our lovely pocket. So let's just pop that onto a page in my journal, because I do have quite a few bits and pieces in here still to fill. So let's just have a little look. Let's pop it the other side, I think, on that. Yes. Oh, yes, opposite that green page. That will be fabulous. So if I pop that there like that. Oh, let's just do it. Just glue it. Just glue it. Say, just get it down. Right on the edge. There. Right on the edge. There. And I would glue across the bottom here because you don't want anything falling out. All right, so that's your gluing points, okay? And then onto the page, like so. Do you know what would look really nice on the edge of this? Now I'm thinking, I knew it would happen. I would glue it in and I'd think, see what I'm saying about we glue too quick? I know I do. It would have been nice actually to have had a bit of gold on the edge of this, so I'm gonna have to try and do that with a paintbrush, I think, because I think that would just pick that out really nicely. Just a little bit of gold, a bit of paint or something. Right, just watching that glue down there. So let's just take some of this off because there's a little bit too much going on there. We don't need all of that. Okay, so let's have a quick look and do our closure. So we open it up. So of course the first thing is you have a pocket behind. So I'm going to just cut that off there a minute and we'll use this as our demonstration card. So you have a nice big pocket there, which will actually, I would say, take something quite substantial. Yes, it will. You could put a good sized journaling card in there, and then we will open it up here, and then you'll have a really good space in here for things. So you could get a nice journal card in there, and then you'll bring this down, and the very same again, you can have a full-size journal card in there. Yeah, that's not interfering with anything. And then in here we're going to then take, oh, am I on camera? There we go. You can have something then in there. So all these pockets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and of course not then forgetting, most importantly, the one at the front, which again will take a full-size journal card because you've got all that depth in there. So I think that's an amazing pocket. Bringing it down then, closing it all up, fan-dabby dozy. Still need to just take a bit more off here perhaps, but there we go. There we are. How's that? One sheet of paper, 2 little scraps, and we've ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pockets in our journal. And that's that. Okay guys, thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Don't forget, as with everything else that you make, if you do make any from any of our demonstration and some tutorials, please tag us in it when you put your photos online, because I love seeing what you're doing. And it's just great to see how you take the ideas that we bring and go and do something amazing with it. So have a great day everybody, take care, and we will see you all very soon. Bye now.